Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see you all. We have 27 participants so far, and people are joining. We'll give a couple of minutes more to start. Yes, I think we will start now. Let me introduce myself. I'm Benny Agustin. I work for Unisys for the last 18 years. Prior to that, I was with the Deutsche Bank and BPL Telecom and Coach Svirla. My role primarily was into human resource, and thereafter I transitioned to compliance and ethics last 10 years or so. I lead the conflict of interest COE worldwide for Unisys Corporation. And we have presence close to, above 50 countries. And we will have a very enriching session. And we all are highly renowned senior compliance and ethics professionals. I look for an opportunity to learn from each one of you, and we will have one interactive session. And I have few charts with me. I have 15 charts. Out of 15 charts, thank you. Question and answers, and in the introduction and all of that. And left with, I have only 9 slides. And I will take you through, as I have mentioned, where it will be a mutual learning for all of us. This is a regular disclaimer. I just leave it on the screen for 30 seconds for you to read. Moving on. This agenda that I have, a few topics to discuss. And as we all know that ethics and compliance is a big question, and there are a lot of components involved. And I pick up a small component here. It is conflict of interest. And in conflict of interest, again, my conversation will be more from a disclosure standpoint, and to share about my experience, and maybe getting some insight from you all from your experience standpoint. So ethics is a big, as I have mentioned, it's a big topic altogether, ethics and compliance. And again, this also contribute to business ethics. From there we start on, and again, all the business decisions should be ethically. If it is not, you know what happens. Similarly, it should be complied to various rules and regulations, various things that we have, and the values, and the ethics and values that we imbibe, and which the organization wants to continue with. So all the business decisions and business conduct should be ethically viable, and there could be the boardroom strategies or stakeholders interaction, or any other decisions that we take. Again, as I have mentioned, conflict of interest in the ethics and compliance context, it is very important. And that's the way we can mitigate the risk in the organization. Each and every organization has got its own code and business ethics and business code of conduct and so on. This covers all the risk areas. And but at the same time, the conflict of interest is only one small element in it. and we need to all encompassing, and we need to promote a culture of compliance and ethics in an organization, and this should be enforced with the code as well as the policies and processes. And again, we also need to identify risk proactively, and we need to imbibe or promote a kind of a speak up culture wherein transparency exists and people free to disclose, and they know that if they disclose they will have an action, and positively the organization will look into, and so on. That also help us to build trust and confidence in the organization. And finally, all the code or ethics and all that we do to safeguard the organization from its risk, as well as the employees from its reputational risk and all other kind of risk. Yes, a conflict of interest. How is this defined? I think this is the best way I could get a few definitions from the net and my readings and so on. This is the way it is best defined, the conflict of interest, and basically to say that we there was little technical hinges, sorry for that. So all the conflict of interest should be mitigated and addressed properly. But at the same time, you know, we all are associates, as well as we need to lead a life of our own. We involved with various activities in the society. And I'm sure that some of them might create a conflict of interest. Basically, our loyalty should not be divided between our personal interest as well as the organizational interest. So that is what, from a conflict of interest standpoint, we need to. There are dimensions of conflict of interest. Again, I'm just touching this topic. I know that all of us are senior compliance and ethics professionals, nothing new in it. But at the same time, there could be, I thought, let me touch this topic before I get into the disclosure side. And there are potential conflict of interest, actual conflict of interest, or perceived conflict of interest. There may not be any conflict of interest at all. Again, all the issues or all that we do in the organization or outside the organization, it may not create a conflict of interest, but it might be perceived. But it is, from an organizational standpoint, it is important that we need to get all the conflict of interest, and we need to address it before it become a conflict. So in the major areas of conflict, some common categories are there: employment related, and outside, there will be a lot of opportunities for outside activities and so on, to become a director in the profit or non-profit organization, or job related, and relationship and family and friends related, and another context wherein maybe someone might be hiring an unskilled relative or a friend, or a reporting to a manager who is a friend or a relative. Again, if they fail to disclose the person is relative or friend and things like that, which can create a conflict of interest. And again, business and finance related things, and sharing of information to the competitor, running a parallel business, competing with the employer itself, or they are involved into various other activities, or such kind of a scenario. Some of them I thought I'll get here. And again, personal relationship, board membership, gift and entertainment, outside activities like public services or charitable activities. Uh, uh, again, regular activity involving significant time or the kind of attention will be deviated. Many such things can create a conflict of interest. This is only just a bird's eye view. Again, all this conflict of interest that we have has to be disclosed properly, as well as we should be addressed in an effective manner. So therefore, it is all the more important we should have a appropriate process to disclose all the conflict of interest. As I have mentioned, the component of conflict of interest remains only a small component when we look at the ethics or ethics, integrity, and values arena. So it is important that we should encourage people to disclose any conflicts they perceive or any potential conflict which can occur. So therefore, it is all the more important that we need to work with the associates, work in the organization across the organization, create kind of an awareness on the process of disclosure, or how do they disclose within the organization. So again, from a disclosure standpoint, we should integrate ethics and COA disclosure as an organizational culture itself. It should be a DNA of the organization. Assume that there could be some conflict of interest which has not been disclosed, we have not addressed it, then this can lead to a major issues which can have an issue for the organization as well as for the associates. So it is important that we need to capture all the conflict of interest and mitigate it. And again, it is important that we need to share with the associate what is our code, what is our policy, well-defined policy, and how do we do that. So we need to encourage them to come and disclose it. And again, the leaders and managers should get involved, and they play a very significant role in the organization. The action speaks louder than words. So therefore, it is important that we need to take our leaders and managers and senior management along with us, and they walk the talk. And if they have any concerns or they have any potential conflict of interest, they should disclose it first, and they should share with their team members that about the process and policies and the importance of the disclosure program within the organization. Again, this should be a risk-based conflict of interest policy as well as an initiative in the organization. And we need to see which are the major 3 or 4 risks, or identify risks for the organization, which are the risks. Then we need to develop the policy based on that, and then we need to implement. And the policy should cover well-defined manner what is the process in which one can disclose it. Again, when I speak about the disclosure, it should be a user-friendly and employee-friendly disclosure program. Maybe the disclosure chart or the disclosure tool that we are using, it should be very interactive, very friendly, and they should be in a position to do in an easy manner. Or otherwise, the employees should not feel it is a burden for them, and it is difficult for them. They may not be able to find out where it is available, which SharePoint it is available, or which policy it's covered, and the URLs are not available. So therefore, it should be a user-friendly disclosure program, and there should be a tool that is easily accessible and it can be used freely. And at the organizational level, we need to create good awareness and training program for creating this. it's very important. Employees should know what is the importance of that and set their expectation for them. And it is the policy or the code of conduct. This is the thing which really set the expectation for the employees, and it should be communicated, and it should be explained to them what are what is the expectation of the organization. So accordingly, they can also act and interact and behave in the organization. Again, the awareness program should be in such a way that we should take the entire leadership team along with us, and the middle management and the leaders, and they are the best people to communicate with all the associates, and take them along and partner with them to enhance the message on a conflict of interest within the organization. And another context is that assume that this has been, we have a great policy in place, we have a code of conduct in place, we have a disclosure tool is available, disclosure program has been explained, and awareness has been created. Even then, it is important that we need to review the disclosure which is coming in and provide sufficient guidelines and input. And the employee should see an action from the compliance office or the compliance in charge or the compliance ambassador, whoever is responsible for it. They should see an action from them. We should review and respond to them, to the employees, and approve all this. A COA has been disclosed, and the approval can be done with certain guidelines, or some cases it may not be with any guidelines. Guidelines may not require, and some of the cases we need to say that no, this will create a clear conflict of interest, therefore we don't want to continue. Or the associate can take a decision that whether they should continue with our organization or otherwise. And we need to, in an ongoing manner, we need to monitor all the disclosures which are coming in, and we need to analyze it accordingly, and we need to take appropriate necessary actions on that. And we also, this is an opportunity for us to identify which are the risk areas and which are the major 2-3 the components that we see as a potential risk area or the disclosure area, or which country it is more, which function it is more, which business unit it is more, or which timing this comes up and things like that. So it's very important. And again, the lesson learned should be flow back to the policy, and it is important that we refine our policy very often based on the lesson learned, based on the experience and so on. So UNICEF standpoint, I would say that our disclosure program is working very well, and the timing of capturing disclosure is very important. We do capture the disclosures or any conflict of interest such that from the resume, the applicant stage, whenever an associate apply to UNICEF, the form itself, SharePoint form itself, the smart form itself will probe and ask whether they have any conflict of interest, whether they, we have given a kind of a short brief on conflict of interest and what can contribute to conflict of interest, whether we check with them at the resume build stage itself, check with them whether they have any conflict of interest. So if they declare, which will be taken through the entire recruitment process, and it will be handled during the recruitment stage. This will be part of the selection process. Similarly, worldwide, in all the countries, our entire offer letter speaks about the conflict of interest policy, and it has been clearly mentioned, articulated well, that they should disclose it before they join in the organization. And I'm sure that generally, whenever an appointment letter or offer letter they receives, the new hire might look at only the compensation part, but we insist people to go through, and this disclosure has been included in the offer letter worldwide. Again, from an onboarding process, this has been again reiterated the fact that whether they have any conflict of interest, and there is an opportunity for them to disclose it. Let me share with you, there are cases it chance upon to us that they have disclosed once joining. We missed all these parameters. Even then, we had to work with them. Some of the cases we had to, we had to dealing from the organization itself. So there is a multiple opportunity for them. It's called a triple filter, but the applicant stage, selection stage, and offer making as well as the onboarding stage. So even if somebody loses that triple filter, then we have opportunities to disclose it every year. There is a certification, and if there is a context, the ad hoc basis, they can do the disclosure, and we will get back to them with a definite answer whether they will be able to continue with what they have been doing, or we also provide certain guidelines to them, and accordingly they can do that. Or some cases we have said that no, they cannot continue on that. So it's very important to know, important to capture the disclosure in the beginning itself. Otherwise, in case if you do that, otherwise if you don't capture it, if it is too late, then we will have a problem wherein candidate has already joined into the organization. There is a conflict of interest. It is a real conflict of interest. Organization doesn't want to proceed with him or her, whoever the new hire is, and the new hire has already left the other organization. So it is very important that we capture this information from the beginning. So how does this process work? As I have mentioned, some of it could be a little repeat from the previous chart. So the process works, as I mentioned, there's a triple filter has been implemented in the organization. People can disclose in 3 levels. And again, subsequently, if there are annual programs and various communication programs which are quarterly and otherwise. And it's important that we capture this information. I don't think I have not seen a benchmarking which says that an organization has got this much disclosure, but only they have disclosed only this much. I'm yet to see a kind of a benchmarking on that. I don't think, but there is also not one size fit all kind of a scenario. It varies from the organization to organization, and the number of disclosures or the extent of disclosures one captures varies from organization to organization, and the risk itself could be different in different organizations. So we need to work around our code, our policy, and our process, our capturing mechanism, and the approval pattern. All such things should be has to go in tandem, and it's kind of a 360-degree approach on that. Again, our policy and process should be easy to understand, and it's a simple language. It should be, and if it's a multiple countries where they don't speak a common language, there should be a policy should be defined in that particular language where people can understand, and that is very important, and create sufficient awareness within the organization on the policy and the process and the tool, and various effective training programs. It can be on onboarding, time, and all of that. Again, the disclosure should be very seamless. As I have mentioned, the tool should be very friendly, policy should be friendly, program should be friendly. Again, people should feel like disclosing if they have something, and they should have a trust in the organization, and this can create a lot of transparency. Again, once a person is joined, there are kind of an event that triggers. I'm saying maybe on onboarding stage, people can disclose if they have. And maybe when we promote to a next level, the responsibility changes, or the leader changes, or the business unit changes, or when we do an M&A, merger and acquisition time, we can. So, or we integrate another entity into our mainstream, we can do the disclosures. So there should be a seamless disclosure process and disclosure program. We do, unless and until we don't disclose and we don't mitigate, we don't know how much of the risk that we are carrying. We have absolutely no idea. And as and when it happens, then it will be a big one, and we may not be able to repair. So you have seen from the medias and things like that, what kind of a fine and penalties have been imposed on the organization. So it is important that we need to capture all of it, but we don't know what extent of risk they have. And again, let me also share with you, even the senior leadership or the seniors, we don't know. They do things with the best of intentions, but they themselves may not be knowing that, yes, this can create a conflict of interest. So therefore, it is all the more important that we create sufficient awareness in the senior leadership level, and they can penetrate or drive down or percolate down into their teams, which will work much more effective and well. And as I have mentioned, we should have a tool or some mechanism to capture. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there is no one size fit for all solutions, and maybe some organization can create a smartphone. Some people have a inbuilt, internally built disclosure tools. Some people will have a spreadsheet to monitor, and some might have a helpline or third-party tool, and all that. So it's very important that we see that what the best work for the organization and do that. But at the same time, again, the disclosure program should work as an enabler in the organization than a policing kind of a scenario or kind of a reactive. It should be more of a proactive mechanism. And either employees should know whom to reach and what to reach, and which function can provide what kind of a guidelines, whether there is ethics representatives in each business unit or the centralized, or is there a online a particular email ID, a group ID which they can reach, and all those information should be provided and circulated widely in the organization, and so that the employees also feel trust and confidence in the organization, and they will be able to fear-free manner. They can disclose it. Again, review and approvals are very important. Again, a kind of a consistency in their approval and approach is very important. And we need to, each and every disclosures are unique. It is pertaining to an individual, and it is very unique. And maybe, again, this here also, there may not be a one size fit all kind of a solution, may not be there. Assume that there is an executive whose work timing is 9 to 6 or whatever specified time, and he or she would like to look at a second job which requires 4 hours per day or 8 hours per day or 6 hours per day and so on. We may be able to approve such kind of a scenario, wherein organization has no expectation other than the working hours, which is specified to them. On the same context, some other senior resources wants to take up a kind of similar assignment for 4 hours or 8 hours or 6 hours and so on. We may not be able to approve because organization expectation is that for the senior leader to be available with us, available to the organization, maybe more than required that period, right? So it's very important. Each context is unique, each case is unique, and we need to work and identify risk and provide sufficient guidelines and approve it. But at the same time, let me share with you Unisys context. If I look at last 2 to 3 years, 97.8% of the disclosures which has come in has been approved with or without conditions or guidelines and so on. But at the same time, a microscopic percentage we had to reject it, and we had to reject such disclosure that will create a real conflict of interest. So therefore, we have rejected, and we made the associate aware of the risk, and still they wanted to pursue the other contexts. Then we had to part as friends. So there were cases of that sort, but I can tell you the majority of the case, the disclosures which has come in have been approved with or without conditions. And it is very important that we need to analyze it, all the disclosures which is coming in, and we need to do the reporting to the senior, the board, reporting to the board or the audit committee, and whichever is applicable in our respective organization, and do the analysis which pocket it is coming more, what kind of disclosures are coming more, and what are the kind of an approval that we have done, and all that. The analysis and reporting is very important, and followed by the refinement of the policy that we have. So again, during the analysis, you will be able to see that which pocket there are more business unit or functional unit which is more, or which country it is coming more, all that, and accordingly our program can be redefined and to mitigate such risk. So basically, if you have a good disclosure program, it's a real enabler in the organization, and this will help to mitigate the risk. This also provides sufficient trust and transparency in the organization, and employees will trust the process and the function and the organization as a whole, and this will create a lot of goodwill in the organization. And our organization also, as I have mentioned, it will be a certification process for the organization, which fosters ethical and compliant organization, and it's very effective organization. And most of the risk has been identified, and risk are mitigated, and we know which direction we are going. And whatever said and done, I'm not sure whether we will be able to 100% disclosures in the organization, but our aim and attempt is to get the 100% disclosures done. And this also gives us a chance to assess the risk as well as proactively address any unethical behavior in the organization. And it's a win-win approach. It's a win for the employees and win for the organization. It's more of a win-win approach. And a compliant organization, a certified organization, and great on that. We all are compliance professionals. I need not speak more on that. Any good compliance program and any organization, this will have highly ethical, highly integrity oriented, highly risk mitigated, and such organization has a good work culture and is an ethical organization. It promotes our branding. It promote organizational branding, attract investors, client, partners, employees, and prospective new hires. Investors would like to invest in an ethical organization, and a client would like to work with an ethical organization. And it is easy to identify various vendors and partners who is willing to support us to work together. And employees would like to join us. And the employees, those who have already joined, they will remain with the organization. They also spread a goodwill and speak about the organization. They also will try to attract the resources from outside, their friends, and they do a lot of employer referral and so on. Or the associate will, or the employees will act as a magnet to the organization to attract talent. Again, this also provides further business opportunity. Provides a lot of business opportunity, further growth, and so on. And we will have an engaged employees, highly motivated employees, which gives you more productivity and the retention. Again, there is in this entire scenario, there will be a lot of cost saving, and it is absolute benefit to the organization if you have a good disclosure program, good conflict of interest mitigation program, and this will help you to grow the organization. So this is what I have, and I would like to hear from you. I would like you to share your thoughts, your ideas, and if you have any questions, please ask. We can discuss. If I don't have all the answers, you can help us to get the answers. We can work together, we can learn together, and I think we have 10 to 15 minutes more.
Benny, we do have a few questions that came through chat. So if you open up your chat box, they're posted there. One of the first questions was, do you have any recommendations for disclosure software?
Recommendation for improving the disclosure process to encourage the disclosure of dual employment, which is on an upward trend in this hybrid virtual work environment. Yes, my suggestion or my learning is this. When I look at my organization's contacts during this pandemic time, either dual employment scenario has gone up, and I have requests which is coming from people that they would like to take up another 4 hours of work and another 6 hours, and there were full time also. Only thing, my suggestion is that look at each case differently, as I have explained earlier, which means certain cases, certain people can do, because organizational expectation is only during that particular period. Assume somebody who is working on a shift, 9 to 6. That is, organization expectation is only for that associate or that employees to be with the organization only for that particular period. And we can always approve or sanction. They can take up. But other context is that maybe a senior associate, their organization expectation is higher, then you should look at that. So the recommendation is that evaluate each case and have a close look at that and evaluate it and see what are the risks which they are bringing in, or what kind of a risk the organization is taking, and accordingly we can do that. And yes, I do agree that the hybrid virtual work environment, yes, we have increasing requests on that. But as I have mentioned, we can only provide employees and be frank with them and create tremendous transparency so that more such requests comes in. And we can, this is an opportunity for us to provide various guidelines. Maybe in some cases, we can always say that the company resources should not be used for their personal work, which might create risk and so on if they use it. Maybe they are using for other organization, our organization's asset. So we need to say that don't use the asset for them. They need to have a different thing. Or there are cases the company bandwidth is used for. Company has provided to discharge letter, I mean, for their duties and responsibilities in the organization, but at the same time it is used for others too. So look at, there is no one size fit for all solutions, but evaluate it, encourage, at least we get all the input and we know what is the risk we are carrying. And in case, assume that there is a performance dip in that particular individual, then we can always go back and say that, yes, we noticed this after we have sanctioned all of it. And therefore, also in the approval conditions, you can always make a mention of that. They should be doing your company activities on a priority basis, and there should not be any dip in their performance.
So Benny, I think a lot of people were listening to the beginning part of your presentation, and you mentioned some tools and software. They're very curious to know if you have any recommendations for software, disclosure software that they could look into.
Not exactly. We use Conversant, third-party tool where we work with them. And I am comfortable with that this particular point. And there are various organization provides various tools, and you can review whichever is fine, comfortable. You can use it. My only request is that you know, it should be a user friendly and it should not be too cumbersome, asking too many questions at the beginning stage itself. But it should be crisp, but we should get the information what we want. It should be, look at that way. And it should be easy to use it, and maybe user interface should be good. So again, some organizations use a spreadsheet, some organizations build their tools internally. There are various tools. I don't have any recommendation as such, but we use Conversant.
Excellent. Another question that came in is, if an employee discloses a conflict of interest, should there be discipline, or should discipline be waived as long as the conflict of interest is resolved?
Can you repeat that question one more time,
Sure.
Melissa? Sorry for that.
Of course. If an employee discloses a conflict of interest, should there be discipline, or should discipline be waived as long as the conflict of interest is resolved?
It depends. We highly encourage, and I also recommend all our compliance and ethics professional colleagues to take this, give them as an opportunity to disclose it. Even if the disclosure comes a little late, but still we have captured that disclosure. But at the same time, again, it is a bit of a contextual. Say that somebody has joined in the organization, we have given the opportunity at several stages, and the person has certified saying that, yes, I have disclosed all of it. Then it comes again, and we identify, as an organization, we identify, or a whistleblower, or through a speaker program, or any of these places, we go to know this got triggered. then we need to have a disciplinary action on him or her, whoever it could be. So, but it should be a message for the organization. And any such thing that may happens, any small opportunity, we always use this opportunity to encourage people to disclose it. And this is for the message for the organization. And we have taken a few cases disciplinary action, but many cases we have encouraged and appreciated their disclosure. It's all contextual. It is again, we provide a consistent message, though in a particular case, yes, we have taken a disciplinary action that could be, the type of conflict of interest could be such that. Therefore, I hope I have answered.
I think so. We have another question from the audience. I'll read it in its entirety. Wondering if we should reduce the use of conflicts of interest. Conflicts and conflicts of interest. Should we rebrand as disclosure or declaration management in our policies and tools? Looking at our conflict of interest policy, conflict is used 12 times while disclosure is used 6 times. Just curious how you or others brand the conflict of interest program. So I think it's the number of times the word conflict is used in conflict of interest. Stumped him.
I'm just trying to assimilate that question, little longer question. Can you repeat one more time if you don't mind?
Sure, of course. This person is wondering if the use of the word conflicts and conflict of interest should be reduced. Should we rebrand as the disclosure or declaration management in our policies and tools? Looking at our conflict of interest policy, the word conflict is used 12 times while disclosure is used 6 times. Just curious how you or others brand conflict of interest as a program.
Great. It's a brilliant suggestion as well as a brilliant question or suggestions, whatever. I like it. Yes, conflict of interest has to be, there is a conflict of interest, therefore we have a disclosure program. It is all the way you articulate it within the organization. And if there is a conflict of interest, yes, we need to work together and mitigate it. But identify this as a disclosure program. Conflict of interest tend to a little bit of a negative side, or the words are little more from a nomenclature standpoint, it's little rough and harsh. But the disclosure program is much more positive as well as lighter. Good to continue to encourage to use disclosure in the organization.
Excellent.
Thank you. Nice one.
That was a good question.
Yep.
Another question that came in was, could you comment on the process to handle and solve conflict of interest when it comes to board members? To whom are they supposed to be disclosing any conflicts of interest?
Yeah, it's all, again, it's dependent upon the organization, the board members, who do they do that. But at the same time, the chairman of the organization, chairman of the board has to, it has to be disclosed to the chairman. And definitely this will come back to our compliance function and part of the disclosure program. And we can incorporate into the disclosure tool, and we can approve or clear it as the case may be.
Excellent. And earlier,
Thank you for that.
Wonderful. We do have time for a couple more questions, so please do post them in the chat. In the meantime, there was an earlier question, and I apologize, I missed it. What information do you report to the audit committee?
Yeah, that's a full analysis. Again, audit committee is also looking at how closely they are looking at. They are looking at majorly what are the risk areas. If they, what are the kind of disclosures which are coming in, which are the more areas, and which are the risk areas the issues are coming in. And audit committee is definitely happy if there are all the risks are mitigated. Again, all these disclosures are associated with the risk in the organization, and they see the overall scenario. But again, each audit committee of the organization has the different perspective and views and so on. they also they also would like to get a preview of where it is coming from and which country, which region, and all that. I mean, it's part of the analysis. Thank you very much for asking that question. It depends. It varies from the organization to organization.
Excellent. Thank you, Benny. It looks like we don't have any more questions, so maybe we could take this opportunity to sort of wrap up the session and any last words that you might want to share or thoughts you would like to share.
No, from my standpoint, I'm happy that I could interact with a few of our compliance senior colleagues and looking forward to connecting with you all. ECI, thank you for this great opportunity to ECI, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, one last note is everyone is asking whether or not you'll be able to share your PowerPoint presentation after this session.
Of course, I'll share with you, Elisa,
Okay.
and you can share with the rest of the team.
Well, there you go, folks. We will have the presentation posted, and as soon as I receive it, I will post it under the Files tab of this session page. Otherwise, thank you so much, Benny, for your time
Yes,
today. Oh, please.
Just to add, if anyone would like to get in touch with me or further speak on this topic, we can always speak. I'm in LinkedIn. You can always connect with me.
Thank you so much. And for everyone else, thank you so much for attending. We'll stop this session a little bit early so everyone can get ready for our keynote address with the SEC. And we'll see you at 12:15. Again, thank you, Benny.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.